Let's get our game on.
A transitional government and free elections. Those are the demands of the thousands of exiles who have gathered here to demonstrate near Miami. Well, guys, the feeling is clearly mutual amongst the student body. Today, hundreds of students and faculty flooded the Shalala Student Center.
Although the CDC only officially recommends 6 feet between people who are social distancing, some students feel like there are thousands of miles that separate them from their support systems.
Which means one thing. That's right, the famous turnover chain. And it is a new one. This year's chain features more than 3,300 sapphires and a signature U covering the state of Florida.
Thank you, Talia. And finally, on Wednesday, the sweetest program made its debut for the fall 2020 semester. That's right, Pancakes with Pat is back and just as delicious as it was before the pandemic. As trash continues to pile up in our landfills and in our water sources, it's so important that we continue to find unique ways to help decrease our waste. And what better way to do that than to take that trash and turn it into treasure?
Let's get climbing.
However, many members of the Trump administration refused to wear masks at times. In fact, President Trump took off his mask upon leaving the hospital after he was diagnosed with COVID-19.
Bienvenidos, yo soy Justin Arenas.
Y soy Celine y esto es Lo Último,
donde les damos las noticias más recientes del mundo del entretenimiento en español.
And English,
So Spanglish.
Con todo el chaos de 2020 y la reciente pérdida del héroe Chadwick Boseman, todos necesitamos reírnos, and Netflix has us covered. On September 1st, Felipe Esparza, Malas Decisiones, was released on Netflix. Gracias al día, la elección presidencial de 2020 ha sido como ninguna otra. La pandemia mundial ha causado más de 230,000 muertes en los Estados Unidos. Por lo tanto, es lógico que el COVID-19 haya sido uno de los temas más discutidos antes de las elecciones. Thanks, guys. One class instructor at the University of Miami's art department creates work that is both visually stunning and green for the environment. I had the opportunity to visit her studio and learn how she's turning the glass waste of Miami into beautiful artwork. It's no secret that at-home alcohol consumption has increased during the COVID-19 pandemic. According to Nielsen, alcohol sales had increased by 27% during the first 3 months of the pandemic. But one artist has found a way to take advantage of the influx of empty bottles.
I make a lot of my work out of recycled bottle glass.
Jenna Efren is an art instructor at the University of Miami, which gives her access to a near bottomless supply of empty bottles, courtesy of her students.
I get all my bottles from my students often and my community at large.
Efren also ventures into the streets to collect littered glass. The result, hundreds of liquor and beer bottles neatly organized in her office, which can be a surprising sight for some students.
Just like, what is going on here? I mean, it's kind of shocking, but at the same time, you know that she's always working on something, so she always has glass lying around.
Emily Fusilero is an aspiring glass artist.
I love all of Jenna's work that she's been doing recently. We can bring in our own bottles and help collaborate with her, but also at the same time making a difference.
Efren uses the bottles for various projects. Sometimes she'll create molds and use them to cast broken glass, or she will manipulate the bottles directly and turn them into vases or sculpt them into specific shapes. Of course, Efren has faced some obstacles as an artist during the pandemic, since her ability to directly engage with the community has been limited.
A lot of my work also is community and interactive oriented, so if I don't get people that are actually interacting with the piece and I can't get that feedback, it's been a challenge and difficult.
But Efren has not let the challenges of 2020 prevent her from creating powerful art. She recently exhibited a piece where she turned beer bottles into fish trapped in a net to show how the world's trash is impacting the oceans.
I want to become the recycling center for my community and then make art about the environment and talk about that connectivity and get people involved and caring about the places that they live in.
Efren's work is currently on display at the Arts Warehouse in Delray Beach. To see her past exhibits and stay up to date on when and where she's showing her work, or if you want to help donate old bottles, visit jennaefren.com. Even though Havana, Cuba is just a little more than 200 miles from Miami, it is easy to forget how close this country is in some people's hearts. There is one neighborhood in Miami called Little Havana. which began to flourish in the 1960s as thousands of Cuban exiles fled to the United States to find refuge from Fidel Castro. According to The Economist, there are now over 1.2 million Cuban Americans in Miami. Among them is one woman whose father sent her to Miami in 1959 to avoid prosecution from Castro. Magna Ferrar was only 20 years old when the revolution tore her world and her family apart. From the beginning, she knew she wanted to work against Castro and the chaos he brought with him.
I used to have a typewriter in my room and print papers at night against the revolution, and then of course, my parents didn't know this. I went out and with a group of other friends, and we'll distribute them all over.
But Ferrar was not just working against the revolution. She was working against her own brother, who she says was a supporter and a close friend of Fidel Castro.
I was working against the revolution, and my brother was integrating.
Ferrar arrived in the United States with 10 cents, 3 pairs of clothes, and the shoes on her feet, and she had to leave her family and her home behind.
And they lost everything, and that's very hard. And to see that my brother was part of it, was harder.
But Ferrar found new opportunities in Miami, a city of immigrants who created a new culture together.
We're very proud of what we did. When you have nothing, you create.
Ferrar and her friend Blanca Rodriguez created a sales company and rose to success. The legacy that they created lives on today through the next generation of Cuban Americans. Anais Falca is the great niece of Rodriguez, and she says that her generation has helped shed a new light on the Cuban culture.
What my generation has done is realize that the Cuban culture is beautiful, right? It's not what people have seen for the past 50 years.
And she is not the only one who continues to celebrate her family's history. Rosie Rosell is the editor-in-chief of Calle Ocho News, a company that was started by her family almost 20 years ago to share the stories found in the heart of Little Havana along Southwest A Street, also known as Calle Ocho.
My specialty is to get the word out to the rest of Miami about what's on Calle Ocho, the history behind Calle Ocho, the people of Little Havana.
$1.
And one of those people of Little Havana is fondly known as the Money Man. He has been selling organic, homemade peanuts on Calle Ocho for 52 years.
When we came in here, you have people selling money here and whatnot. So this brings a little piece of our homeland here. Estoy en vivo, que dime para acá, ven para acá, hey, maní, aquí tiene maní. There we go. This is what it's all about, Calle Ocho.
It is people like the hardworking Money Man and Evilio Medina that embody and share the Cuban American experience.
Oh, the experience is hot dog, apple pie, and Chevrolet, and arroz con pollo and maduros.
It is the life of Cuba here in Miami.
No matter how or when all of these individuals came to the United States, they all share one thing in common: a desire to celebrate their culture of hard work, tradition, and family.
It's important to me that everything is documented and that the culture is not forgotten. And that, most importantly, that this area doesn't lose its originality, doesn't lose its true culture, that it doesn't become too touristy, because the tourists come here to see what's here now.
And for people like Falca, Calle Ocho is about so much more than the music, food, and dance. It is about celebrating the beauty that was lost in Cuba and the rebirth of that culture and community here in Miami.
We're going to offer it back to our community because we can't go back there, so let's do it here.
Falca will not forget the stories of her family and what they created here in Miami, and Calle Ocho helps her keep their legacy alive.
For them, although they're not enjoying it because of their age, I'm going to enjoy it for them. And it's giving an opportunity to show the world what Cuba really was, always.
And what is Cuba? Cuba is everything you experience when you walk along Calle Ocho. The vibrant colors along the streets, the click of the dominoes in Domino Park, the smiling faces of the musicians and families. All of it shows a community of Cuban Americans who are proud to celebrate who they are and what they have accomplished. I am Celine White, reporting for UMTV from Calle Ocho. People say diamonds are a girl's best friend, but one woman decided trash would be hers. Bobby Brooks runs a company called Trash to Treasure. a company that allows her to use her creativity for a special purpose.
Keeping two things from going into a landfill.
And what are those two things? Plastic and metal. According to National Geographic, in 2018, the journal Science Advances found that of the 8.3 billion metric tons of plastic that has ever been produced, 6.3 billion metric tons have become waste, and 79% is now in landfills.
As trash continues to pile up in our landfills and in our water sources, it's so important that we continue to find unique ways to help decrease our waste. And what better way to do that than to take that trash and turn it into treasure?
So we started to collect gift cards and hotel room keys. And then we also would take from our local bike store, bike chain, and incorporate that into a piece of jewelry.
But Brooks does not take credit for this ingenious idea.
And the way Trash to Treasure came about was we had been doing student events, and they were asking if we would be able to maybe do a little bit more to save the planet on some items that normally would be thrown out.
We live in a kind of throwaway society, but I mean a lot of things that we don't really think of once we're done with them, they do have a lot of uses outside of that.
People need to focus more on the bigger picture stuff, and hopefully when that happens, real change will happen.
And Brooks says anyone can be part of that change.
One individual can certainly make a difference. I think that if everybody had the mindset that their individual efforts make a change, then imagine when we put everybody together what kind of change that can be.
And you can be that one of the many who helps save the planet, one piece of trash at a time. I am Celine White, reporting for ULTV.